Welcome to episode 207 of Sports Management Podcast. Today's guest is former Swiss Olympic swimmer David Karasek. David is the owner of Swimpros, a swim camp focusing a lot on the mental aspect of swimming, since that was something David struggled with himself. Get ready to learn why David used to choke under pressure, why tennis players are the mentally strongest athletes, the power of visualization, what he has learned from Michael Phelps and Roger Federer, why sport is so important for kids, what his favorite animal is, his favorite C words, and much more. David Karasek, welcome to Sports Management Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Marcus.
Great to have you on the show. You are a former professional swimmer and the current owner of Swimpros. So let's start there. What is Swimpros? Why did you decide to start it, and your vision with the company?
Yeah, man. I mean, look, what we do swim camps, which is like the in-person kind of aspect. And then the other thing that we do is we do mental training, and we do that online. So it's like a mix of both. And I got to go back a little bit. Why we started it is I guess I was good at swimming, and I got a scholarship at the University of Virginia and stuff, which is a really good school. But I always struggled with, call it performance anxiety, you know what I mean? Like before you train really well, and then you have to step up on a block and you go like all, the head goes a bit crazy and wild thoughts, doubting thoughts, right? Can I do it? Can I not? And I bombed a lot of the important races, like I was supposed to score a lot of points for the university and stuff. So that's how it works over there, right? It's like you always score points for the university, not really for yourself. And I bombed it in the most important moments. And I was like very sad, it was very frustrating and stuff. I felt like I let everybody down. My parents who supported me, my coaches, my teammates, everybody, right? And then in my last year over there, they hired the sports psychologist of Michael Phelps. And then guess who was like the first person who was in his office, right? So he just arrived on campus. They got him in an office and stuff. Like there was a couch, but it wasn't set up yet. It was just like the couch was just there. We sat on the floor and he started coaching me. And for me at the time, felt like a miracle, like all of a sudden these knots that I had, they just kind of started to dissolve themselves, and I started to perform so much better in practice. And then in those dual meets that you have where you're not rested yet, and then the big competition came, and I scored a lot of points for the university. All of a sudden, I made it to the Olympics, right? And I got a Swiss record in the Olympics in front of 15,000 people, which is something that before that I would never have happened, right? Because I would have freaked out massively. Yeah, and then I went into private banking for a little bit and in Zurich, and I just, the question was, if I'm not there, does anybody care? And from every angle that I looked, I always came to the conclusion nobody gives a damn. And so I thought I wanted to do something with my life where I actually, when I'm not there, people are like, oh, where is he? It's actually contributing to the development of others and not just like shuffle some money around. And then that's when I had the idea. I was like, it would have been nice to kind of know these tools that the sports psychologist of Phelps gave me when I was 23. It would have been nice to know these at 13, 14, 15 in that interesting teenager phase. That's how we started it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And, it feels like now you find your purpose, right? That's the word. You said when you're working in banking, do you make a big difference? Do someone really care if you're there? Now you're doing something that is dear to you and that can make a difference for someone else.
Yeah, man. I mean, and don't get me wrong, right? The people in the private banking, the colleagues that I had, they were really nice clients. Even the clients were nice and stuff, right? It was a cool environment to be there too. I guess you want to make some money, and because in swimming, you don't make any money, dude, unless you're like Michael Phelps good, right? You're not really. And so my goal was to make money and all that, and it was money driven. And I guess that was okay for a couple of years, but then that purpose question and. Yeah, it was this nagging thing. Every day you wake up, it's are you doing, are you living the life that you really want? And I was like, no, but I'm making money, and then I kept going back and, that went on for a while. And then at some point I'm just okay, got to make some moves now, man.
So then you started Swimpros right there, you went into being an entrepreneur. How was that jump, from being in a private banking, which is a secure type of job? I guess you did okay money usually in banking. You don't do too badly. So, from that jumping into being an entrepreneur with the uncertainties and all of that, how was that?
Incredibly difficult. in terms of money, right? My mom, she is like a big saver, if you know what I mean. He like the way she grew up, they didn't have when she was young, they kind of slept in like one big room. They didn't have enough money for the heating and everything. So like the money then that my dad made and all that, right? Big savers. And so she always like, I'm not, I like money, don't get me wrong, but I'm not like a big spender. I spend on myself, education, I spend on my family and maybe like holidays and like experiences, but I don't need like a crazy car or like a villa and stuff like that, right? So I put some money aside. And that gave me in a way like a bit of a security that even if it doesn't work out right away, I'm gonna make it. But then the money just goes poof, every month. The balance goes lower and lower and lower. And I was at a point where we still didn't make a lot of money, and well, not enough. It was just going down basically. And I had not enough to pay the rent next month, and I was already thinking about, I'm gonna have to go, at like what at 30 years, go back to my parents or something like that. And then it started working out like in the last moment. And so it was way more difficult than I had imagined. And I'll be curious to hear your thoughts. But a lot of the people that I follow, they kind of say, if you knew how hard it was in the beginning, you'd never get started anyway.
Yeah. Maybe you need that naivete a little bit in the beginning to get started and then just keep on going. But you mentioned like in the last moment, did something specific happen, or was it just, you're chasing customers, whatever, and then finally you managed in the end, or was it something that changed at that point?
And I think, I mean, if we look at our lives, right, and probably also when you look at your own life, when there's like a deadline, a lot of times things start to work out, right? We just off put it and taxes, right? And I don't have money to pay taxes, and all of a sudden we pull it out of our butt, right? And it's there. And it's just like when there's a deadline and there's no option not to succeed. You start doing the things that you had like excuses not to do, right? For me, it was always like a reason. I knew what I needed to do. I just couldn't get myself to do the difficult things like reaching out, having these sales and all of that. And then there was just no more option. And I had to do the things that I knew I needed to do. And I started doing them. And that's when it started to work out.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. And I mean, we will talk a lot about mindset and stuff like that. But also remember, from if people are in school, like procrastinating, you get 3 weeks for a project, you will do it like the night before or 2 nights before anyway. So I think that's very common and something that a lot of people can identify with as well.
Yeah. I mean, deadlines, they just work. And I mean, we just got to use them to our advantage, right? So if we know that we function like that as human beings, then there's a flip side to that, right? That we actually, when we do set deadlines and we do involve maybe other people that can hold us accountable and stuff, we can leverage that and get a lot more done, I feel like.
Yeah. I think it was Elon Musk. Now, maybe he's not the most popular guy, but that he said, like, if he thinks that something took like a year, he would tell his team to do it in 6 months. And then usually it would take like 9 months. And then it was better than what he thought. But you take like a really, really sharp deadline. And to your point, then if you're working towards that deadline, you might actually reach it.
Yeah. And dude, I like love him or hate him. Like, I mean, I don't care. But like when it comes to productivity, when you like listen to people who have done a lot of research on that and studied about it, they all say the number one guy. I don't think there's any like girls, not that I heard of, that are more productive. And so there's definitely a lot that we can learn from him in that regard, right? Everything else is up to you, but
yeah, for sure. I mean, politically and stuff, I mean, everyone has their opinions, but as you said, like in terms of business and productivity and like how many things he's doing at once, like having SpaceX and Tesla and everything simultaneously, how he gets his day, he has the same amount of hours as the rest of us, and how he makes all of that work is beyond me. So circling back to Swimpros, we talked about mental training. Also that you've talked about like the power of visualization and mental training. So at Swimpros, you said like you were choking during pressure. So now when there are up and coming swimmers that might be like we are all nervous, but how are you working with them to use that nervousness and jitters to be able to perform anyway and maybe turn that into something positive?
Yeah. So that's like a very good question. And it's also like a very big kind of question, right? So like, I would say the main goal of what we do, and that's why I think it's such a good life skill to have, is that we teach our swimmers to be in the present moment, right? And that sounds very spiritual and all that, but the truth is that when we're truly present, there is no fear. right? And also we're focused on the task at hand, which is anyway, it is all that we can do. Because the reason why the swimmers freak out, and that's true for like all athletes, but for swimming, it's like this, right? You kind of have this period before your start and you start like thinking about the race, and then you go to the call room, which is like that prep room before you actually walk out to the blocks. And there's like some, you're doing some warm up and stuff, but that's usually the time when swimmers start to freak out. And the reason is they're wondering how the swim is going to go in like 5, 10, 15 minutes whenever they're swimming, right? And they're like, okay, am I going to swim fast? Am I going to win it? Am I going to, whatever thoughts they have, but they can do nothing about that because they're sitting in a call room in that moment. That's when the mind freaks out. They want to control something that is happening in the future, but there's nothing that they can do about it. Right? And so we teach them to be present. And then we use tools like breathing techniques, like I call it the Michael Phelps breathing technique, because that's the breathing technique that Michael Phelps used. And I saw him use it in the Olympics because we were like swimming in like the similar heat. And then visualization is another big one. Because if you see, I don't know, have you ever, I'm sure you've heard that, like when journalists ask somebody who just did a world record, not just in swimming, in track and all that, and they're like, were you surprised that you went that fast? You know what they say sometimes?
Yeah.
What do they say?
They had seen themselves do it before. I've seen myself do this so many times. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. And so when you visualize kind of how it's going to go ideally, and you see that over and over again in your head, and that is like you do that while you're training, right? And you do the visualization every day and stuff, not for long, just for a little bit. And then when you actually get there physically with your like 3D body, your mind is not freaking out because there's no uncertainty, because you know what's going to happen next, right? Or you kind of know, like, because you've seen it, and the mind will be much more calm, much more confident and all that, and you can go and do your thing. So does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Visualization is not something I've worked with a lot myself, but, I've heard, as you said, like a lot of elite athletes has been working with that, and definitely powerful. And, if you can do it in the right way.
Yeah. And I mean, like, Marcus, think about it this way. So I'll bring back Elon Musk, okay? Since we talked about him before. My coach taught me that many years ago, and I'll just never forget it. It's like, I use it all the time. When you think about what's the biggest difference between human beings and animals, or one of the biggest differences, let's say.
Or brain capacity, I guess.
Yeah. And what specific, yeah, you're right. And what specifically about it?
Empathy.
So like, do animals have thoughts?
Yes.
Okay. Do they have emotions?
Yes.
Yes, right? Dog can be happy, sad, I want to bite you, happy. Exactly.
Yeah.
But as far as we know, what they don't have, right? And as far as we know, we're the only species that has this skill to visualize things that haven't happened yet, to like imagine stuff.
Ah.
And so when you think about Elon Musk, right? How this happened? He had a thought, an idea. He imagined Tesla many years ago. It was just an idea, something spiritual, just an idea, right? And then we human beings, we have the gift, let's say, to take an idea and move it into actual physical form, right? With a time frame, with teamwork, with other people, we can take an idea. Like, look around in your room, everything that is not a plant, we human beings created it. The phone, somebody had an idea. The cup, somebody had an idea. Headphones, right? T-shirt. And then we can move it into physical form. And that's how creation works. And so that's why, like, visualization, I don't think it's just for athletes. It should be like, you can visualize an ideal relationship. You can visualize how you want to be as a dad. You can do all of that stuff. And when you do it the right way, that when you look back, it's like, holy shit, that's how I imagined it a year ago, 2 years, That's how creation works. It's interesting.
It is very interesting. We talked about like that mental training, visualization. You have a big poster behind you that says confidence. Mm-hmm. Does that somehow tie together? That if you mentioned that again, that you choked under pressure. So if you're going through this mental training, you're doing visualization, you have seen yourself do something that you're about to do. Does that equal confidence in that moment?
No. So like, look. Man, I was young when I did this, right? So I created it myself. I figured out on Photoshop how to make this like yellow and all that. So I figured out, okay. But I messed up because I didn't know what I know today. So the word that I will put on there is a different one. It also starts with a C. But like confidence, really confident. You can only be with the things that you've done and you have the evidence, and you can be confident looking backwards, right? So like you with the podcast, it's like now you can confidently say that you can run a podcast because you have the evidence. But when you started it, you can't be confident about it.
True.
But what you need is you need courage. So I'm going to redo it. And the word up there is it's got to be courage, because without courage, you're not going to put yourself outside the comfort zone. And right, you're not going to do it when it gets hard. You have a plan, but then when it gets hard, you're not going to do it because you get scared. You're worried. You could go wrong. You could fail, all of that stuff. Without courage, you'll never actually get to confidence or it just takes you forever to actually get there. And so I think courage is much more important, especially if you don't know how to do the thing, and you don't know how to do it. If you want to grow and improve and stuff, by definition, you've never done the thing. So you can't be confident because there's no evidence that you can actually do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Just got to take a leap of faith. And to do that, you need courage.
Yes. Courage is to do it. And then confidence, you need to have some type of proof that you've done it before, so you can look back on that to be confident on something. I like that.
But then think about it, right? If you take it a step further, when you're confident that you can do it because you have the evidence, are you then at that point inside or outside of your comfort zone when you're confident?
When you're confident, you're inside.
Exactly. Are you growing when you're inside of your comfort zone?
No.
Exactly. So if you want to grow, which I think we're way too young to stop growing, right? And hopefully we just continue growing until the day we die, because what doesn't grow dies, right? So if you want to grow, you actually don't want to be confident for too long, because you then want to make a new commitment to do something bigger where you're not confident, where you're back to hanging out with courage. And that's why I'm saying, like, the courage is going to be much more important, because you're going to be hanging out outside the comfort zone if you choose to grow. And that's when you need courage, instead of hanging out, oh, I'm confident, put my feet up and stuff, right? I'm confident. You're not going to grow anymore, right? And so I know you don't have a kid yet, but do you want to have kids?
Yeah, for sure.
Best thing in the world, right? Like, hands down, absolute best thing. And I think about that a lot. It's like, if I could just kind of pick one or choose one character trait that I could help my daughter, like nurture in my daughter, it would be courage. Because if you have courage, there's nothing that she can't do. Whatever she decides to do, if she has courage, she can attack it. It's like these things that we want to do, but we don't, and then don't really have a deadline. So we just kind of push them out. And then it's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years later, and we look back, right? But if you had the courage and just like draw the land in the sign and like step over it and go, right, you can kind of pivot into any direction that you want.
Do you know the podcast Modern Wisdom?
No.
You should listen to that. It's a good one. It's with a guy named Chris Williamson. So he's talking about like doing the thing. So it's like he has this quote, I guess, but like writing down the thing is not doing the thing. Thinking about the thing is not doing the thing. Telling your friends you will do the thing is not doing the thing. So like do the thing. Like that we talked about before also with procrastination and all of this. That we come up with a lot of things that is not actually the thing.
I agree. Dude, I spent 200,000 Swiss francs on my own like personal development, and I would say like 150,000 of those were just because I thought I need more courses, I need more seminars, and I actually didn't do shit. Instead of just and reading books and like oh, I gotta read this, I gotta go watch this course, I gotta do this, instead of just picking one thing and actually start doing it. Yeah, you're so right.
Something else I want to talk about that you mentioned before, like when someone has broken a record and you ask a question and they say that, have you seen this before? Yes, I visualized it in my head. Something else, a word or a sentence, like 2 words actually, that is very common when you talk to athletes, is flow state. Mm-hmm. Like I was in the zone, I was in a flow state. What is that for you? And is that something that you can like practice to reach?
Yeah. Definitely. And so there's like experts, right? There's like the Stephen Kotler and all his team, like of the, what's it called? Yeah, anyway, but there's like experts on that. And you can, so I've never done his course and stuff, but I can just describe it like what I feel. It was we did a camp in Tenerife just this summer, right? 35 competitive teenage swimmers and all that. It was amazing. And in the morning, we started at 9 in the water and we went to 11. And I was coaching, and I love coaching at the pool, right? I just like, Yeah, I think I'm good at it and I love doing it. And usually when my daughter and my wife, they were there as well, and they would always come and watch how we coach and watch the swimmers practice because my daughter loves hanging out at the pool and like watch everything, right? She's just sitting there. She's little, right? And she goes, she does the movements. It's so cute. And I always see my daughter. When she comes, I always see her. But I was coaching and they were coming and they were sitting there. And for 45 minutes, I did not see them because I was so locked in into coaching. And my wife told me that. She's like, we were sitting there for 45 minutes. You didn't see him. It's like, what? So that, for me, that is a flow state when you just so absorbed with the task at hand that you also kind of lose track of what's going on around you. And the time, how you perceive the time is like weird because like these 2 hours, I thought it was 30 minutes and 2 hours were over, right? So that tunnel kind of perception of like a tunnel focus, I think that's what it is, right? And I think it's much easier to get in a flow state if you just do something that you love.
That makes sense.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that would make sense.
I mean, try get in flow state when you do something that you actually try to get in flow state when you do an admin. Well, I guess that could work too because you need to get it done and you could get in the rhythm of stuff, right?
No, but it's like you can apply that to everything. Like if you're like really getting to a book you like, then time will pass by. But if it's like a boring book, you will count the seconds or,
Yeah. And you'll not be present, right? The focus will try to jump to, oh, maybe I should clean the house or I should get groceries and stuff. But then, yeah, I think again, it goes back to that all important skill that we should all learn. And, I'm not saying I'm present all the time, not at all, right? I'm like distracted and stuff, but I'm working on it. But that to be present in a conversation, to be present in, whether that's reading a book, doing a workout, whatever it is, just to be present in the moment. And I think, yeah, that's this kind of skill to develop because that's when we're kind of the best version of ourselves, when we're present.
You're an Olympic swimmer. You've been with Michael Phelps, seeing him train and compete and so on. So what are some learnings that you have taken from, the best of the best in swimming that you can apply in your business now?
So when you look at people who go very far in sports, in business, have very good relationships, it's always a question, hey, are you good in sports and then you develop a good mindset? Or is it you have a good mindset and that's why you become good at sports? So it's like the chicken and the egg. And the more I like research this, the more autobiographies and like podcasts and stuff that I listen to, I feel like I'm starting to put it together. And I do have I'm not saying it's the right answer, but I do have a strong opinion. And I do think it starts with having a good mindset. And if you don't have a good mindset, you can choose to develop the mindset. And then from then is your performance is going to go up. And that was certainly true for Michael Phelps, for example. If you know, like his story and all that, he had very good adults, good, and I mean like people that supported him, gave him the right kind of tools at a young age to develop a good mindset. And then of course, right, he had a sports psychologist and all that stuff. So I think that's what I learned is like, it starts in the mind and everything else will come after that. And you, in a way, you become successful when you start, whatever that it is that you want to do, you become successful in the moment that you start. And in the beginning, if you're not good at it, okay. Yeah, I mean, everything that's easy, at some point it was hard. Everything that you're good at some point you sucked. And so if you suck at it or it doesn't work out, it just means that you're in that beginning phase. It doesn't mean that you're not going to make it. It's just like, that's where you are, right? You just got to learn the skills. And so I think, yeah, that was like the biggest learning that I had to try to apply it and kind of just pass it on to, my swimmers now.
I heard an interview with Michael Phelps, and he said that for 5 years, he didn't miss one practice. I mean, we're talking birthdays, Christmas, being sick, having a bad day. Maybe he had a slight injury. That's 1,500 days. I don't know, I can't count. It's an incredible amount of time. So that must come from the mindset, right? That's where it starts, to go to practice every day.
I mean, it has to, right? There's no other explanation. No parent, no coach that could force him into doing that. It must have been, I mean, I don't know. I didn't never ask him that question. So I don't know from him personally, but I just cannot imagine that someone would have forced him into that, right? There is one thing though about Michael Phelps. I mean, have you heard that when you like look at his whole story, not just the successful, I mean, the Olympic medals and all that, but like the other side of the journey, like, do you know that he wanted to kill himself?
No.
So he had like huge issues in a way, if you want, right? I always thought like when I was a swimmer, I want to be like Phelps. Everybody wanted to be like Phelps, right? This like obviously. But like when you look at the full story, there's also, yeah, there were times when he wanted to kill himself. And he speaks about it, right? So it's like he's doing a lot of like mental health education and talks and stuff. So I think it's really, really nice what he does. Um, but yeah, can we find a way where you can be very successful in swimming? You're not going to be the next Michael Phelps because there's going to be one in the world, whatever, but that you reach your full potential and you actually enjoy the journey. Because I would like, there would be nothing worse than having like a swimmer winning, one of my swimmers winning an Olympic gold medal and then hearing that he wanted to kill himself, like, or had suicidal thoughts. That would like break my heart, and competitive sports, dude, it's a tough game, man. I mean, if you look at, right, football, you get traded. If you're injured, you're out. Like it's tough, man. It's tough.
Yeah, for sure. Some people might want to be professionals, but I don't know if someone wants to be a pro, but not to be top of the world. But everyone has different goals. Maybe someone just wants to swim and make a living out of that, and that's their goal. They don't want to be the next Michael Phelps, so to speak. So try to find that for every individual. Every individual has individual goals. That's my point.
100%. And that's always what we start with every time. We just did it yesterday for the goal setting, right? We need to know from them what it is that they want to accomplish, not what we like. Doesn't matter what I want for them. It's like what they want. So it's, yeah, very important step. I agree.
Let's dig in a little bit now. We are on a Swimpros. We mentioned that first. It's described also as like the world's first online swim camp and focusing on mental switch. So yeah, let's dig into the specifics a little bit of Swimpros.
Yeah, man. So that was a marketing thing. Like, look, dude, I'll tell you, I'll tell you what happened, right? So we were selling mental training for swimmers and we'd run a lot of like paid ads and stuff. And then we take calls, all that stuff. And I mean, it always worked and it was fine. But then we had the idea to run like in-person camps. And I'll tell you this, like we had these like calls and then we would ask them for the mental training, we'd ask them for 1,500 Swiss francs. And I said, that's a lot of money. They can't afford it. And then 3 weeks later, the same people came to us and they paid us 3,500 for the swim camp. And we're like, okay, what is going on? And we just noticed that, with a swim camp, parents know exactly what it is. There's an experience and stuff. And we've been there and kind of, we know what this is. We're happy to pay. But with the mental training, it's like people don't really know what it is. It is less tangible. And I don't really know like what it is. And so that's when we came up with the idea, and it's working really, really well, is that we're going to call it an online swim camp, right? And then we kind of explain, hey, what that is instead of selling like mental training. So it's an online swim. And man, I can tell you, like we run these camps, they're 10 days and they're absolutely fantastic and the people love it. We love it. It's great. But if the kid is open to being held accountable throughout the year by us, I can guarantee everyone that if you buy an online swim camp, you do mental training over a year, you pay a lot less money and you'll have a much bigger effect than a 10-day camp. The reason is what you do every day matters so much more than what you do in 10 days.
Yeah. Then you have another word to put on your lion, consistency.
Yeah. Oh, we like those C words, right? Commitment, confidence, courage, capability, consistency. Yeah, dude, there's a lot of good words with C.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe I should have put a tiger on the other side or something.
Let's see. The day when if I built up some studio here, I might steal some inspiration from you. Take some C words and animals.
What's your favorite animal? You got one?
Not really. Haven't given it much thought though. I feel like you need to identify with that. When people ask you that, they want to tell you like, if you were an animal, which one would you be? And then it becomes a bigger question. Can I return the question before and I think about it a bit?
Yeah, of course. I got the line because like my our daughter is called Luana and my wife is, I mean, she's Swiss, but her family's from Kosovo. And in Albanian, that's what they speak down there, right? Luana means the lioness. So, like, I mean, it's always been the lion for me. And then when our daughter was here, we're like, okay, Luana, we love the name, and so it kind of aligns, It's good.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's a cool name.
Yeah.
Let's dig into your own swimming career a little bit. Like we have talked about now with the Swimpros and what you do there, and a lot about the mental importance on visualization, mental training. But you were an Olympic swimmer yourself. You competed in the 2012 London Olympics. So can you talk a little bit about, like, from the beginning, why did you get into swimming, and how was your swimming career like during the years?
Yeah. Guess who was a swimmer in my family?
Father?
Yeah. So like, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's just kind of what happens, right? I take my daughter now. We go swimming all the time, and she's like not even 2, and she's gonna swim very soon. Like on her, it's crazy. So I guess he just kind of exposed me, my brothers. He's 2 years younger, and then my sister, she's 4 years younger. To the water a lot. We loved it, from what I was told. And then I kind of, they, did a bit of club swimming like 3 times a week or whatever. And I was really late. So I didn't start practicing a lot until I was like 16. And that's very different, because I think that allowed me to kind of go until I was 25, 26. Because a lot of people quit a lot earlier because they're training like crazy hours when they're like 11, 12. Some of those kids train every day, even doubles when they're like 13. It's crazy. And so I started to get more serious, and yeah, started to get a bit better. And then I had a lot of trouble here with the coach in Zurich. When I was like 18, 19. And at the time, it was always his fault. It was, yeah, it was always a coach's fault, in my opinion. Now I know I'm smart, and I know that it was all me. But at the time, in a way, it was good, because I knew if I wanted to kind of get to that next level, not just Swiss level, but like international level, I had to kind of like make some changes and go somewhere else, because it wasn't working out. And that's when I started looking into the US. Because for swimming, the US is it's just like probably the best place to be, or like one of the best places in the world to be for swimming. And you can do your studies and stuff, right? So I started looking at these different universities, and then I was talking to the coaches in Virginia, and they're like, yeah, sure, we'll fly you in for like 3 days. You can see the campus, meet the team and everything. It's called a recruiting trip. And I'm like, what? You guys just fly me over to it? It's like, yeah, that's what you're right. I was like, okay, I'm coming. And I did that. I arrived there, they picked me up, and I got to see the campus, meet the team, see the workouts, meet the coaches and all that. And I was just freaking blown away. Like, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm coming. And I signed, like, pretty much when I got home, like 2 days later, I discussed it with my parents and stuff. I got a good scholarship, got like a 90% ride, and I signed. Then I went over there, and I started loving like crazy, because I probably would have quit in Switzerland with like 19 if I didn't make the move. And I went over there, and all of a sudden, man, it was all about the team. In Switzerland, everyone is on his or her own. That's how I perceived it. The mindset isn't very good. And like, yeah, no, you also feel tired. Oh man, it's gonna be hard today. Like all that. And I didn't know how to deal with that stuff, because nobody was helping me, and I kind of got sucked down as well, and I started sucking others down. And so I probably wasn't a very good teammate. And then in America, everything changed. It was all about the team. People held each other accountable. We knew each other's goals. We had team goals, and it's like we had the same clothes, and it's like this holy shit moment. And I started loving every aspect of it. Dude, there was like, when we had like a really normal like meet when we were racing another university, we had sometimes parents flew in even for that, right? And they painted their faces. Our professors were there, our like classmates with like instruments and shit. Like, it was amazing. I was like, what is going on? Right. Yeah. So yeah. And then I just really enjoyed those 4 years. Sports psychologist of Phelps obviously helped a lot. And yeah. And then things went really well the last year.
Yeah. Like when I hear that, it's like the smallest thing that can change a career, right? You said like you had call it a falling out with your coach, or you felt like there wasn't a unity or a teamwork in that team. Like, this thing could make you quit, right? As you said, like when you were 18, like you felt like you might have quit, and then you didn't, and you become an Olympian, and then you have this whole story afterwards. So just so important, like, to get more kids to stay in sports generally, just to take care of them and see what they need, but to have see the individual, but also the team, because as you said, like some small things can make a difference if you stay in the sport for 5, 10 extra years or not.
Yeah. So well, and I'm kind of curious if you got thoughts or ideas on that because I'm constantly thinking about it. I haven't come to the conclusion yet or solution. But like, there's a statistic they looked at. I think it was America, not worldwide. I think it was America, and 75% of competitive athletes stop by the age of 14, and it's mostly around like the stress that it creates, and so that's what they were saying. And so what do we need to do here in Europe? I mean, you're in Sweden, I'm in Switzerland. It's kind of, what do we need to do, or how can we help? Because the club coach runs his training, and if he's an idiot, then all you could do is replace him. But then how do you replace him? Because it's like a club, and you know what I mean. He's not like it's not like a corporate where somebody sucks, like a company is like, okay, you suck, you're not doing the numbers, we'll fire you, basically, right? It's different.
Yeah. No, so I know in Sweden, like the strategy to take that away, the pressure, for example, it's different in swimming, but like let's say soccer, football, they don't count goals up until they're a certain age. And I think that's wrong because I think you need to learn to win, you need to learn how to lose, and you need to go through diversity. But then when you go up, kids will develop in different rates. So there need to be the opportunity for someone who is not as good as kid B to still continue. So there need to be, an opportunity for everyone to develop. I know it sounds easier in theory, but than in practice. But like, because sometimes if you only focus on the elite, the ones that they are really the top, then you will lose all of the rest. And if you only focus on the majority and we have fun, then you will lose the ones with elite ambitions. So in order to find a way to accommodate both of these groups.
Mm-hmm. But and it's funny what you say with the not counting goals, dude. I heard from like Scotland, I think, from a swimmer, they're not giving medals to the first three, and they're giving medals to place like 8, 9, and 10. Like
participation
crazy.
Trophy, yeah.
Yeah, but like, all right, but yeah. But then what do we specifically, like, what specifically is being done about that? Because the philosophy, what you just shared, I mean, yeah, I agree, right? We don't want to lose everybody who's not top. But if you got a football coach who's like been coaching football for 30 years, he's not going to listen, or is he? Like, he's just going to, I run the show, I'm doing whatever I want.
Yes. And then you have the problem in younger ages. Usually you don't have like pro coaches. You will have someone's parents, and then there will also always be favoritism. So I don't know. I don't have the recipe, but yeah.
Because, man, I think this conversation is like hugely important. And I think it's more important than ever. And I tell you why I feel about that is, dude, what is in today's world with like Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, and all that shit? I mean, some of the content is good, right? There's no doubt about it. But when you understand that the content and how the algorithms work, they literally designed, the only goal that they have is to glue the kids or us to the phone for as long as possible. And it works really well. When I go on it, dude, you know it, right?
Yeah.
Or are you like, yeah?
No, yeah, I'm definitely like that.
All right, we just got to be honest, right? So me too. And so that gets you. And so if they're just like on their phone, and then there's gaming, and then there's Snapchat, and they start to interact online instead of like actually hanging out in person, all of that, right? It's like, and we can see, look at the research of the unhappiness that goes up, the depression, the problems that the kids have. And of course, there's like other things, but social media undeniably is one of those big drivers. And I just feel like when they're going out in the real world and they're doing a sport, they have this opportunity to build their character, to deal with the adversity, and like, and that is, if they drop out, what are they going to do? Well, they're going to go hang out, do stupid shit on the streets, or like they hang out on their phones, play video games all day, and that's why I feel like it's so important, because they're not really, it's fun in the moment. I get that. I was a Counter-Strike. Do you remember Counter-Strike?
Yeah, sure.
My mom was like, yeah, it's dinner time, or and I was like, yeah, I'm coming. And then I wouldn't come for like 2 hours and a half. Yeah, I was a pain in the ass for my mom at the time. So I get it. But what did I learn from that? Nothing. What did I learn from swimming?
I mean, I think you can learn something from gaming, but it's not going to be the same as sports for sure. Like this type of sport.
What are you really going to learn from gaming?
I mean, it's competitive to a win, the winning and losing, but you're doing that in a different way. So I guess that's an aspect. You have, some other they talk about hand-eye coordination, reactive times. Like there are some things you can learn, definitely, but not on the same level as swimming, in my opinion, for sure.
But take a guy who's always playing on his phone. He may have good eye-hand coordination, but if you throw him a ball, he's still not going to catch it. Right? I just feel like these are all, believe me, I had a list of reasons why gaming is good because I was a gamer, and then we start to like rationalize why, there is reasons to do that. But like really, when you look at the big scheme of things, I mean, I think that, out in real life, you probably definitely have like better opportunities to kind of get ready for the real world.
For sure. So I was playing ice hockey. My dad was, and I wasn't like any great at it for sure. But he called it Project 1317 because he felt like if I was keeping busy before I turned 18, like what else would I do on a Friday night? Like now I was practicing. Otherwise I would, as you said, like just hang out doing stupid shit. So I think that especially during those years, like up until you're maybe 18, to do something meaningful and something that will develop your character and yourself is really important.
And it's an important time. So you call it 13, 17, kills at 8 years. I like that. Maybe, I like that a lot. I said, hold on, I've never read that. Project 13. This is a really, why did you quit?
It was just, I realized I was spending 6 days a week at the ice rink, and I knew I had enough like realization. I knew that I wasn't gonna be pro at the year. Like I was like 17, 18. And then I was just, okay, I have more with school, it takes more time, and am I gonna spend like 6 days a week here? So then I just made a priority not to stop. I also fell out of love a little bit with it, I would say. But then I was doing some reffing. So I was still cool. Like, that was make some extra bucks, and then I could still stay close to the sport. But then I didn't have to, be 6 days a week at the rink. Then I could be twice a week.
Yeah, right. And you're still doing something. Yeah, you're like in the sport, and you got to keep active too, right? Like these refs, you probably have to like train. Yeah, right.
Not on the same level, but still, like you need to keep active for sure. And now I work with selling ice hockey equipment, so it's full circle on that. So you can still be close to the sport without being pro athlete at it.
Exactly. It's cool. Do you go to the gym and stuff?
Yeah, lately I've been going a bit more. Got a PT to get some. I'm a really skinny guy, so now I start to put some mass on. Yeah. I think I might have been a good swimmer, but my wife says I'm a terrible swimmer. But I have I'm tall, wide shoulders, stuff like that. So maybe if I had the right mindset and someone put me in a pool in the early years, maybe I would have been a swimmer.
Maybe in your next life. Was your dad ice hockey player?
Yeah, he played just different sports. I was playing ice hockey, football. We have something we call like floorball here. It's like hockey. Yeah, you know it?
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
Know it, yeah.
Yeah, and then so then just as I grew older, I just liked that more. So when I didn't have time to do 3, I did 2. Then I kept 2 of the sports, and then in the end, I just did hockey because that was what I liked the most.
Yeah, I think that's great. I used to play the cello. You know, the cello. Yeah. Yeah, but that also took a lot of time. I was pretty good at it, but then, and I love doing it and everything. But then at some point, just like you, right? Different sports and an instrument, and then one falls away, and then more, and then until at one point it's like, okay, this is it. Yeah.
No, that's interesting. I read somewhere also, like in terms of mindset and being the best and everything, that you have spent some time, or to some extent, Roger Federer. Is that true?
I mean. Yeah, so I mean, in the I met him. It's interesting. I met him the first time I met him in the Olympics, because he was in London as well, and he was in the village, and we had like time to hang. Swiss team, right? We had like time to hang out with him and have a conversation. So that's the first time I met him, and then I met him again, just for a short conversation at the airport in a lounge in Zurich. But yeah, in the Olympics mostly.
I mean, that's another guy, right? When you're talking about like mental toughness and excellence, and he's just like perfect human kind of guy, right? He seems to be so nice person and genuine, and also like great at his sport.
It's hard. I mean, I love him, right? But even if I didn't, it's hard to find something. But what's interesting, right, is if you look, and there's the videos are still on YouTube, right? You look at young Roger Federer how he's throwing around the racket and stuff, right? So it's like, okay, there was a transition, there was growth in his career as well. Now he's this well-spoken, funny, you know, Rolex, whatever guy, right? Nike and ambassador and they're doing, yeah. And he's Swiss, man. He's Swiss, right? So he's got to be awesome.
Made some decent business deals also after his career.
Absolutely. And you know I had an aha moment. I was still swimming, obviously, because it was in the Olympics. But what he told me there it was like on the rooftop of our house in the village. And you know, when you compare tennis players and swimmers, for example, you know why tennis players, and I really think it's true, um, they're mentally so much tougher than swimmers. But do you know, like, any idea why?
I heard a statistic recently that they even like when they win, they lose like what is it, 45% of all the shots and they win 55. Even though he says something, I've won 80% of the games in my career, but I won only 55% of the ball, something like that. So maybe that they lose a lot more.
That's right. And that's exactly right. And so it never occurred to me, right? I never thought about it. And then it's like in the moment, right? When you have a bad point, whether the other guy hits an ace or you make a double fault or hit it out, whatever, right? You have this moment when you walk back to the line and then one of them gets the ball, dribbles the other guy standing there, right? And you have this moment where you need to learn how to refocus. Whatever happened before, you cannot let that determine how you're going to play for the next ball, because if it wasn't good, you're going to go down a drain and you're going to make one mistake after the other, you're going to lose the game. So they have to learn how to refocus when something doesn't go according to plan. And they got thousands and thousands and thousands of opportunities to do that in competition and in training. For swimming, man, it's different. You go to competition, you swim the first race. If that isn't good, most athletes, they just have a entire bad meet because they don't have a lot of. So what we need to do, we need to engineer situations where they can lose and then learn to refocus, let that go and come back in the present moment, right? And I think that's why tennis, badminton, all these, like, where you have a lot of these like losses, as you say, and they have a short amount of time to like refocus, they get to practice and practice and practice and practice all the time.
That's a good point.
And it makes them so freaking tough, right? Physically, they're tough, of course, but like swimmers are physically tough too. But I mean, like mentally,
they're one level ahead.
Yeah, something we can learn from. And I guess, like, you know, I mean, you just got to look at great athletes. We can learn from all of them because clearly they did something better than we did. So, right, they got something, love him or hate him, but like, or them or her, but like they got to figure it out, and we can learn something from them. Maybe we can learn something from everyone if we, everybody's better at something than we are. Right? I could learn about podcasting from you.
You can do that. And I'm learning a lot from you, and the listeners are doing as well. I have some like standardized questions that I like to ask. Has there been any bumps on the road in your career? And if so, how did you overcome them?
Oh, man. How about when I had no more money left? How about that one where I was, okay, so financially, for sure, it was that uncertainty was very challenging. I think being close to quitting many times as well. Also, like, in America, I didn't want to quit because I had a lot of fun. But when you train really hard and you kind of have evidence from training that you can do it, because you measure the times and they're really good, and then you bomb because of nervousness, that kind of makes you question everything also. Or it made me question everything. It's like, okay, do I really have it? Like, what's wrong with me and stuff, right? So those were, and yeah, a lot of moments when I was like crying and I'm like 190, 90 kilos heavy, and you see a man like cry and stuff. It's not a good look, but it's like these moments that kind of helped me define, become better.
Any best advice that you have heard or received?
The best advice, I think, I go back to what I said before. It's like, figure out a way to get to know yourself. And what I mean by know yourself is just know what you want. Because a lot of people like don't know what they want. And I also didn't know what I wanted for a long time. And then that's kind of what once ends up. But once we get clarity, and I'm not saying it can't change, it will change, but at least like, right, if I stop somebody on the street, it's like, hey, what are you working on? What are you focused on? You should be able to like congruently articulate what that is at this point in time. If you got no clue, life is going to just kind of ping pong you around. You're going with left and right with the wind, but you don't really have like, yeah, you're just going wherever.
Yeah. Anything else that haven't mentioned yet? We have gone back and forth here on different topics, but anything that you really want to mention that I haven't asked you?
No, man, I think no, I think we covered it pretty well. That's like these, and again, like when these mindset things, I know and I understand now that they're like not so tangible, and it's not something that you can like hold in your hand and stuff, and it's a bit, it could be a bit spiritual and all that stuff, but it's worth investigating at least, right? And it's like being curious about it, because you can make small changes that take no extra time, and they'll massively improve the quality of your life. And once you see the results, which will happen very quickly, if you start like doing some of it, right, then you become internally curious about that, and you start investigating more, and you'll find more. And there's this whole like kind of realm, right? It's like if you go into politics and conspiracy, you start, and then it's like, holy shit, there's so much. Right. But so that would kind of be my wish for everybody to just, I wish I had done it earlier. I haven't, but it happened. So I'm happy. And I try to just kind of spread the message so that people can, if they maybe hear this, right, go like, yeah, okay, let me read a book, or let me investigate a bit more.
I think everyone wish they did something earlier, but I mean, we still have time, right? We have a couple of more years on this earth, hopefully.
That's the thing. Do we really know though, right? Man, you never know. You never know. Never know.
You never know. I like to end on a networking question. So who from your network do you think would be a good guest on this podcast?
That's a very good question. I just don't know how like realistic it is, but I used to coach an Olympic champion, Nicola Spirik. She is triathlon. I mean, I call it Superwoman. She has 3 kids. She went to 4 or 5 Olympic Games. She was first in London. She won silver in Rio, right? And I mean, just absolutely crazy. So she is amazing. She's not so comfortable with English.
Okay.
Yeah, but she's my hot recommendation for everyone, because like her story with being a mom and like successful family and stuff.
Is she Swiss?
Yeah. Yeah. She does a lot of keynotes here in Switzerland and stuff so that one. And then, but that's also something I can think about, right? There's probably more that I can like get back to you on through LinkedIn or email or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. And then I will get back to you with my spirit, with my animal.
Exactly. Sounds good.
Sounds good. David, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on Sports Management Podcast.
Likewise, my man.
Thank you for listening to the Sports Management Podcast. Please hit the follow or subscribe button on your podcast app so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes. If you want to get in contact with me, send an email to sportsmpodcast@gmail.com, connect with me on LinkedIn, or follow the podcast on Instagram, X, and Facebook @SportsM Podcast.